Hello and welcome to another edition of The Week That Was, a weekly program where we review the headlines of the past week. This week we review the headlines from 1st to 7th June. To discuss these headlines, I have with me the group editor of Herald publication, Mr. Sujay Gupta. Welcome to the show. Let's begin with the headlines on 1st of June. After creating a blackout in Vasco, Adani gas road digging work hits water supply, lets the road cave in. A lot of damage done in this work to the public infrastructure and no supervision from the government authorities.
आम्ही पळयलें की दोनदा म्हणजे लास्ट टायम पावर सप्लायच्या वेळारूय असो प्रॉब्लेम जालो, काल परते उदकाचो इश्यू जालो आनी खंय तरी लोकांक खूब त्रास जाले म्हणून आमी आज सकाळी ऑनरेबल MLA तांकां सांगलें की दे हॅव टू स्टॉप द वर्क अंटील फर्दर नोटीस. सद्याक तांणी काम बंद केलां. एक्चुली एका वाटेन तांणी काम जे रिपेर केलां पळय थंय खंय तरी तें उदक व्हांवन व्हांवन ती माती गेल्या आनी रस्तो खचला आनी तो हें जाला सो भितर गेला रस्तो. ताज्या खातीरूय ऑलरेडी तांचो कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर आयिल्लो आसा. तें काम कंप्लीट जातलें आनी हेंय काम आमी ऑलरेडी पुलीसूय सांगल्या सो दॅट इट इज बॅरिकेड घालून घेतल्या आनी खंय तरी रातचे बिकॉज इट्स अ बिजी रोड मदीं एखाद्या त्रास जायत हेवी व्हेकल्स वता म्हणून ट्रॅफिक पुलिसूय सांगल्या ऑलरेडी.
See, this problem exists primarily because the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing as far as government departments are concerned. See, you have the electricity department which digs, the PWD that digs, the telecom companies that dig, and for long, we think of making small or building smart cities, but what we do not understand is when you are creating smart infrastructure, all the departments need to align themselves to that infrastructure. Yeah. All over the world, and I don't know why we can't seem to be able to get this done after so many years, as a state and as a part of a modern country. Every time you need to dig a road, you dig it once. You have all the ducts for all the different utilities, and when you need to repair anything, you do a pinpointed insertion and get things done. This is something that can be done any time in any way. So I don't understand why this cannot be done. In the sense that if you can enter a human body in a non-incisive way and do different kinds of operations, I don't know why you can't do it for a road. And the point is that there are systems existing. There is technology available, and when you don't do these kind of things, then the whole argument that roads are dug again and again to have multiple contracts, and with multiple contracts you have kickbacks. So every time a road is dug, people don't see the dug road, but past that we see the money that comes out of the dug road. So if you take all this away, and if you can have a smooth, coordinated manner of working, then all departments can work under one system, and this will go on happening. Because now what happens is here in Vasco, you have this pitiable situation where firstly your power lines got cut, then you have your water lines get cut. You cannot do this in any civilized modern town at this point of time. It's actually it's a slap on the face of Goa's progress, and it's very, very shameful.
The second story that we look at today is a human interest story where a couple, Kennedy and Noella DeCosta, were killed when they were moving on their scooter, leaving behind a 10-year-old daughter.
Yes.
त्यांचो ती नाही जाली तेगे थोडे बी हें जालें आमी चयता म्हजो पूत हें करता आतां धाडटा आनी हांव कांय काम करना. हांव एज जाली, हांव 65 years. तशीच
किती डिफिकल्टी बी जाता आतां.
डिफिकल्टी म्हणजे ती बरे भाशेन हें करता म्हाका कडेन म्हळ्यार हॉलिडेज हांवें भोंवली वयली तिका तिगे मातशें मायंड हें जावपाक ती चिंता वयची आनी हांवूय चिंता पुता ह्या दुसरें तें जोडटालीं करतालीं तें ना इनकम ना तेंचें बाबा धाकटो चोयता तें आमी सगळें चिंतूं पडटा म्हाका. बायचें आमचें घरांत कोणाचो आदारूय ना. आमी दोगांय आसताय आतां तेंच्या कडल्यान चड आदार आसता म्हजो भुरग्यांचो. तेंय ना आमकां.
Very, very sad.
Yes, this is indeed extremely sad. I am just pleased that our Herald reporter took this up and and the lawyer of that little girl and that family also, Siola, was also backed our efforts to the hilt. And Herald acted as a bridge which raised the voice of that little girl, the almost silenced voice of the little girl who lost her parents due to a meaningless accident.
Yeah.
A car driven by another person from the village, Nathaniel by name. The point here is that when there are these kind of dastardly crimes, as I would say, then nobody speaks about the little girl or the little child, who's been left behind. And I think more than the two people, the parents who died and were victims of the accident, I think the child is the real victim.
Yeah.
Because she will be suffering that pain each day of her life from now on, of losing her parents in this kind of a manner, not having a helping hand on her shoulder. Though her grandmother has been a source of help, but let's be practical. I mean, her aging grandmother will not be with her for very long. So we must understand all this, and so the state must provide for a system, a laid down system, where there is compensation for the family members of accident victims, especially if there are minors. The state should look after their education and recover a lot of these costs from the perpetrators of the crime.
Yeah.
One is not saying that the taxpayers' money should go always into funding for the education of children whose parents have been killed in accidents, but that can still be done. But what I'm essentially saying is that the perpetrator has to pay. We have this polluter pay mechanism.
Yeah.
Here the perpetrator should also pay.
Yeah.
So the point is, the girl's education and her future money should be taken out from the compensation that should be extracted ultimately from the person who's driven recklessly. And next, the Motor Vehicles Act should also be amended that when somebody is involved in an accident where people have died, that person's license should be cancelled permanently for life. He should never be allowed to drive ever again.
Yeah. Okay. And next we have another very interesting headline during the week in Herald newspaper. Very cryptic remark by the Chief Minister, not in the habit of providing jobs to my constituents. And this was in the wake of allegation that jobs at Mopa had gone to Sakali constituents.
That's correct. So obviously the Chief Minister was taking a dig at his own Health Minister, because there is this almost an established fact, as it were, through various RTI replies and details that we have, that the majority of the people who work in the GMC are from Valpoi, and people are getting a lot of jobs in departments under Vishwajit Rane.
Yeah.
So obviously the Chief Minister who may be a political ally and a colleague of Vishwajit Rane, but obviously he is no friend of his, especially not a political friend of his, and he made this little remark. It is surprising though that the Chief Minister has made this dig not at an opposition leader, but at his own party man. But however, if this is seen as a harbinger of things to come, and if we can have jobs given on merit rather than from which constituency you belong to, it augurs very well for Goa.
So, people will still have this question about what happened to that, because all this was pre-election propaganda. It raised a hue and cry about the PWD department, about the health department.
You're talking about Mopa, no? You're talking about other recruitments.
These other recruitments were there. People would be knowing what happened to that, because memory.
People should know, because what happens is, if complaints have been made on the stating that so many 90% of the people recruited in GMC are all from Valpoi and so on and so forth, even PWD heads. So I think there must be some kind of a independent investigation to ascertain whether these recruitments are really on merit or they are due to political nepotism. Because I think now political nepotism is far bigger than even family-based nepotism. So that political nepotism has to end in government service. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. Next, we have another headline that Goa is proud of such a grand ceremony to kickstart a new government. And we are talking about the swearing-in ceremony of the new Pramod Sawant government,
Right.
in which for 18-minute ceremony, the government hired 134 cars at a cost of 72 lakhs.
Yes, I don't understand the logic. None of us understand the logic why 134 cars had to be hired. The government has, and what were they for? Even if they were ferrying VIPs, the government, I'm sure, has enough cars at its disposal to do this. And hiring 134 cars now, one can go into the nitty-gritty of this. Were tenders passed? Were the best rates taken? What was the need to have 134 cars? All that has to be taken into account. For a state like ours, which is reeling under jobs and unemployment, when compensation cannot be given to flood victims, when people have been who are on contract cannot be absorbed completely into government service. So all that is happening. When you are, most shockingly, when the government had to resort to taking loans to pay salaries.
Yeah.
When you are in this kind of a situation, should this kind of an expense be justified or not seems to be the obvious question to ask. And that is something that surely needs to be questioned. The government should at least tell the people that what was the need for having a ceremony which is 5.5 crores. Okay, you can say the Prime Minister was coming, you need it for security, you need it for other things, but at least give a proper explanation and try to attempt to justify it at some point of time. But this 134 cars for a swearing-in ceremony is absolutely baffling.
And reports were that most of these cars were from Maharashtra. They're from outside the state.
So we do not know why was there a need to hire so many vehicles.
Okay, then another very important headline in the Herald: verified tenants, as most crimes are committed by outsiders, and the Chief Minister of the state is making this statement.
Well, the thing is, whether they're committed by outsiders or insiders, that the case diaries of different police station and the charge sheets and the FIRs will prove. So, can we really say that amongst all the crimes committed in Goa, all of them are committed by outsiders? Not quite so. I wouldn't say the majority of the crimes are committed by outsiders. If you just look at, the crime reports that come to our Herald desk every day, and we see it every day from both South Goa and North Goa, that just a mere glance at those stories will give you enough indication where the crimes are, who are the people who are committing those crimes. So I do not think the majority of the crimes are being committed by outsiders. Of course, outsiders have committed a lot of heinous crimes, there's no doubt about it. But that is not the issue. The issue here is that there needs to be a proper verification of who's staying in a house. There's no doubt about it.
It's rather surprising that he made a statement that no, we don't understand why he has made it.
Because see, what is also happening is that look, there are a lot of tenants. Now I'll give you one example of a story that happened yesterday, and how do you see that in this context? You have this British woman in Arambol who has been raped by a Goan. There are instances of many foreigners, many people from outside who are also falling victims to Goans who are perpetrators of those crimes. So what I'm saying is there is crime existing in society. You cannot pick an outsider, or you cannot pick out a Goan, or you cannot pick out anybody else and say that they are committing these crimes because they are from outside.
You have to identify them as criminals.
Criminals first. However, at the same time, one cannot dismiss the fact that if somebody from outside is coming and staying at your place, you need to know who the person is. See, for instance, I would look at the example. Now, you are verifying tenants. Okay, you are asking tenants to be verified. You are asking tenants who are coming from other states to be verified. But there are a large number of foreigners who are coming here who may not be registered with the FRRO, and you're not verifying them.
Yeah. Then
what about the entire Nepali workforce which is in Goa? They do not have any passports. They do not have any work permits. They do not have any visas. My issue is that you also need to kind of look at them.
Yeah.
So in a sense, the Chief Minister is right when he says that these kind of checks and balances have to happen. The only point of disagreement that I have is the statement that all crimes are committed by outsiders. That is a little sweeping, because what happens is a statement like this emboldens criminals within the Goan system who may take the garb of this and commit a crime in the hope that they'll get away. That's my caution.
Okay. Then moving further, we have another important story that Herald has been pursuing. Land loot in Bardez. The Mapsa police book 5 including ex-Mamladar. This is for forgery of documents and changing names of persons.
Yes. So, our reporter there and our entire team cracked down on this story. And I'd like to share with our viewers that a lot of interesting facts came up. For instance, the modus operandi is simple. There are a group of very unscrupulous so-called buyers of land who forge sale deeds and show that there is a sale being done by the original owner of the land. Whether the owner is alive or dead is immaterial. Okay.
Yeah.
So very often you have the owner who's gone, who's not in this world anymore, and who has signed sale deeds much after their deaths have happened. We have got death certificates of one woman, or many people, but I'm just referring to one instance, where we have a copy of a death certificate and we have a sale deed where her signature is there on the sale deed almost 2 years after the date of the death certificate.
Yeah.
So that's why we did a story saying that the dead cannot speak but they can sign.
Yeah.
So that is what we have said. So the dead are signing papers. So obviously there's a lot of forgery going on. Now these people who are converting or transferring the names from one person to the other,
Yeah.
these are people who are not necessarily actually buying the land. There may be fake transactions shown, but there is hardly any money exchange or no money exchange. It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
These people then ultimately capture a large land bank of which technically they are the owners. And they are the ones who then ultimately sell these parcels of land to other buyers, either unsuspecting or buyers who are part of the whole racket. But they also sell it a lot to unsuspecting buyers even from Delhi, Bombay and other places.
Yeah.
Who buy large lands not knowing what the reality is.
Yeah.
And after they buy the land and start the construction and do whatever, you may have relatives of the original owner turning up and say, look, my land has not been sold because the person who sold the land to the person who in turn sold it to you is dead and gone. So who has signed it? This is forgery. Then forgery cases happen. But unfortunately, these kind of litigations go on for decades. And there is no stop order or stay to the ultimate sale and the construction.
Yeah.
So this now people who are to be blamed in this, firstly is the Mamladar. In fact, we are very glad that a Mamladar in Bardez has been booked under this.
This is the first time
Something
has
happened, and we are happy. We believe it's a result of our efforts. Not a result, but at least we've contributed to a large extent to this. So I think there should be a thorough investigation into all this, and the Mamladars have to be really scrutinized, and their role has to be examined, because they're very much a part of this whole racket, according to people who know, lawyers and others. And I think sub-registrars, registrars, the entire revenue department should be taken to task and hauled up for something like this to continue, because there are so many cases like this where you may be a owner of the land and suddenly you decide your land is completely gone. They just vanish. So it's a land grab of one of the highest proportions, and it's a huge scam which needs to be tackled, and we will do it. Herald will keep a watch and we'll continue.
Okay, so on 6th of June, we have a headline: crackdown on illegal massage parlours or face action. Government directs the police. And Chief Minister himself visited the coastal belt.
Illegal activities म्हाका at present म्हाका डायरेक्ट पळोवपाक मेळूंक ना, बट क्लिनिनेस काही जाग्याचेर मेंटेन बिचाचेर न्ही तरी टुरिस्ट बाकीच्या रोड सायडींतल्यान क्लिनिनेस मेंटेन नाशिल्लो. बट आय हॅव टेकन म्हणजे अपडेट फ्रॉम माय SP नॉर्थ की एक्झॅक्टली इलिगल एक्टिविटीज कशी चलता, कितें चलता आनी कित्या खातीर चलता. त्या म्हणून आमी क्रॅकडावन करता किंवा आमी तेजें 99% डिटेक्शन करता, बट ती जावची न्ही म्हणून प्रिकॉशन्स कितें घेवपाक जाय ताजेर आमी म्हणजे ऑलरेडी दुसरें आमी पुलीस डिपार्टमेंटाक ट्रेनिंग किंवा इट इज टुरिस्ट फ्रेंडली पुलिसींग कशें करचें हाजेर कंटिन्युअसली टुरिस्ट ट्रेनिंग ही कोस्टल बेल्टांतल्या पुलिसांक दिले वयतले.
See, on the face of it, it's a very good decision, and I think it's a very welcome decision that illegal parlours have to be cracked down. Illegal massage parlours cannot go on. And the Chief Minister made a visit to the Kalangut constituency. Of course, he did not take the Kalangut MLA into confidence, nor did he take the tourism minister into confidence. The Kalangut MLA used to be one of his closest ministers when he was in the BJP.
Yeah.
So, yes, ostensibly the move is very welcome, but it has a lot of political overtones and undertones. This is basically to send a message that your MLA, who's been here for such a long time, has allowed many illegalities to continue under his watch. Of course, the MLA Michael Lobo hurriedly addressed a press conference today welcoming the Chief Minister's move and saying that the police is not doing its job and these establishments should be cracked down. But then he should at the same time when he's doing this, fingers will be pointed at him, because he has been the MLA for such a long time, and the police and the establishment in that area were under his control. So, and these are not new massage parlours. So the idea is that yes, the crackdown has to happen, but every political leader worth his salt should put his hand up and say, yes, we have failed to curb these activities for such a long time. Let us now jointly work towards cleaning it.
And then the headlines for today, after massage parlour raid, Herald throws a challenge to the Chief Minister. CM will surely raid clubs illegally playing music and disturbing
We are not.
we
are not throwing a challenge. We are absolutely sure that the Chief Minister will do it. One is 100% sure that the dynamic Chief Minister that we have will now go and raid all the bars and the restaurants that are playing loud music. That is only to be expected, and one is sure we will do it, because see, the issue is like these massage parlours, they were continuing for such a long time illegally. A lot of the bars and restaurants, and we have taken one of the a lead to expose this. A lot of these bars and restaurants are running their establishments and playing very loud music outdoors and indoors after 10 o'clock, disturbing the entire local fraternity and the local people. And that again needs to be cracked down. It's not just illegality. You cannot nitpick, and you cannot zero in on one illegality and leave another illegality out. Playing loud music till 6 o'clock, also in the open or even inside with high decibels, is not correct. And the police are turning a blind eye. The authorities are turning a blind eye. So if one is very serious about curbing illegalities and wiping them out, then there should be action on all fronts, including establishments that are playing loud music after 10 o'clock.
Just a last comment regarding this dominant theme that we are seeing during this week, that land is seen as the most priceless commodity. The politicians are the ones who have an eye on the land, and there is an entire system of bureaucrats, of police, and everybody. How do you see a way out of this? Because does Goa have to live with this forever, or do we see some light at the end of the tunnel?
Ultimately it all boils down to how transparent and clean the ruling dispensation has to be, because the administration takes cues from the ruling dispensation. My point is, if a mamladar or a registrar knows that if he commits forgery, he will be in jail and the case is going to be fast-tracked immediately, he will not do it. But the point is, if he knows that the system will allow it, or the local MLA will turn a blind eye, or the local minister will allow this to happen because the parties who are interested in committing these illegalities are known to them, then they will take these kind of chances. When you know the system will completely crack down on you, then no political leader will have the guts to allow this to happen, or in many cases where the local political leader is a party to the whole thing. He is not just a silent observer. He is a participant in the crime. So I'm just saying that if the system needs to change, it has to change from the very top. And most importantly, let us look at it this way. You can bring about any kind of legislation, but unless there are people wanting to make a fast buck, or wanting to benefit from a land deal, or want to benefit from a particular transfer, or be a land broker and get some brokerage out of this land sale. You see, there are so many people who have vested interest in making money from this entire illegal process. And when that ecosystem works completely, how do you stop it? Because this corruption is being fueled by people who want to be beneficiaries of that corruption, and they are not necessarily only political leaders. There are people at various levels of society who benefit from one land. If there's a land worth say 2 crores, 3 crores or 5 crores being sold, or if there's a big house worth 5 crores being sold, do you understand the amount of money that flows out of those 5 crores? Somebody is getting a 10% commission on brokerage. Somebody is getting some money for getting some paper signed. Somebody is making money forging a document. Somebody is getting money by getting the file passed to the registrar. So a 5 crore deal makes literally the life of so many families. With that one deal, those families can survive for maybe a year or two. So what I'm saying is, it is narrowed down to that. It is boiled down to that.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all we have time for this week. We hope that you enjoyed the week that was. I thank my guest, Mr. Sujay Gupta, Group Editor of Herald Publications.
Thank you.
We hope that you are back with us next week. Keep watching Herald TV.